of sound, tuning in for change. And you're live.
And good morning. Welcome to Kind of Sound today on the Reality Bite Show with me, your host, Wendy Smith. And I actually have one of my favourite guests back, and I'm glad you've come back after 8 months for round two, because I've had a lot of stuff to think about over the last 8 months. So welcome back, Dave Weiss, Flat Earth Dave. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Right, so we're just going to jump straight into this because there's a lot of stuff that needs covering now, because you've, like I say, you gave me some bits and pieces to think about. And now my answer to anybody who says to me, are you one of those flat earth nutters? I go, oh my God, if you think we live on a spinning ball hurtling through space, you need to go and visit an asylum. So pretty much my whole, I can't even call it a world anymore. So my whole plane of existence has now changed, Dave. All thanks to you. So
you were not a flat earther when I talked to you last time, and now you are.
Yeah, well, when you gave me the 3-second countdown and you said to me, someone would be holding, if someone's holding a gun, not you, if someone's holding a gun.
No, me. It would be me. I'd be holding the gun to your head.
If you're holding a gun to my head and I've got 3 seconds to answer, do I believe the earth is flat or it's a globe? It literally went 1, 2, 3 and I couldn't answer because I'd never actually really thought about it until you asked me that question. So that was the interesting point number one. And then what happened was, after our conversation, I went and stood on my favourite hill up at the woods where you can see miles literally. And I looked to the right and I looked to the left and I just went, it's all flat. And that's it. And that's,
well, they say the earth is too big for us to see curvature. That's their argument. But we can see boats go over the horizon. You know, pick your story. Which one is it?
It's one or the other. And it's just that thing as well, when you start applying the math. So when you said to me there's an 8-inch drop every 1 square mile, I took my field glasses with me to the woods and I thought, right, so in theory then, over a certain amount of distance, I should only be able to see, I should lose the bottom part of that church that's like 80 miles away. And then you look in your field glasses and guess what? You can see the bottom of the church. And it's like, well, the math doesn't make sense now either. So what else doesn't make sense?
But the thing is, you actually do lose the bottoms of buildings. And things do disappear from the bottom up, but not because of curvature, right? And it has to do with, I'm in the wrong box here. Hold on. I'm trying to pull up a picture that'll help, because when someone says, well, what about this? And they'll show you a picture, of something that's over the horizon. Well, the horizon is a optical place. It's not a physical place. On a ball, it would be required to be an optical place. Where can I can never find this one picture when I want to find it.
So while you guys are listening this morning, me and Dave are actually on video, so we can see each other on video. So you'll see this we'll put this up on YouTube after the show, so you can get a good visual of what we're looking at as well.
And here it is. So here's a shot coming up 1 second. Here's a shot of a building where the bottom is missing. Now, if you're on the beach looking out this horizon, you can't even see the building. There's nothing there, right? Because the sky comes together and that is the limit of your vision. But when you have a super zoom camera, you can zoom in and make whatever's there bigger. And all of a sudden you can see this building. But the globe will say, look, the bottom floors of the building are missing. There's a few floors missing, but that's an optical thing. So here are balconies, as I'm pointing to, and all the balconies in this building are uniform. But as you can see, they get smaller and smaller and they get crunched together. This is an optical effect. Now, I'm holding my finger in front of my chin right now. Could I block my half of my face with my finger? No. Right? But if my finger was a wave, a small wave, and that wave was closer to you.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Now,
so when you're looking out over the distance, the little imperfections in the water and the land will block entire skylines. I could look at New York City 25 miles away, and I could hold my finger out in front of me and block the whole city. My finger's not bigger. It's all perspective, how perspective works. And things do appear to disappear from the bottom up, but often you can zoom in on them and bring them back into perspective.
Yeah, well, this is the thing that I found by just taking my binoculars with me. I mean, they're not the best set of binoculars, but it really does give you a good idea of that, because I've seen a lot of experiments you've done, and people tend to forget this, I think. When you look down a road and you've got the telegraph poles or the lamp posts,
right,
as they get further away, they get smaller and slightly like what you've just shown there and closer together. And it's not because they get smaller and closer together, it's because our eyes naturally pinpoint into a particular point.
Everything gets pushed into the horizon, and then the optical effects looking through the atmosphere will end up blocking them. And the atmosphere, even on the clearest of days, becomes opaque. Just like 100 panes of glass, you can't see through them, right? A pane of glass, you can see right through it like it's not there, but 100 panes of glass there, maybe 200, whatever the number is, and it becomes opaque after distance. The atmosphere is the same way. And then as you're looking across the horizon, when I'm looking up, let's say I'm looking through a mile of atmosphere before it gets really thin, right? But when I'm looking at 45 degrees, I'm probably looking through 3 or 4 miles of atmosphere, right? Before I get to that same height of clear air. When I'm looking straight across the land, I'm looking through infinite atmosphere. It becomes opaque. That creates our personal atmospheric dome of vision. And so when you're looking across, things will just disappear. On my app, I have there's a button in the frequently asked questions called boats over the horizon, and there's one there called my empty horizon, and it's a 10-minute video that this girl did breaking down a big ship making time going away and all of the different things that happen to it, and it's still there, but it becomes invisible. Right. And the bottom of the ship will disappear. It's truly amazing. And once you look at this and you understand what you're seeing, you're like, oh, it's not curvature. A ball, no matter what the size is, a basketball, a yoga ball, or the earth ball, is required to have a physical horizon. And the example that everyone can relate to is a 9-month pregnant woman looking down at her belly. She puts her finger on top of her belly, and then, or even like a little matchbox car, puts it on her belly and then rides it over her navel. When it gets past her navel, the car will disappear. That's because they're looking down and they see a physical horizon. No matter how powerful her eyes are, she can't zoom in and see that car again because there's a physical horizon. But when something goes into the distance, it disappears because of an optical effect. So I'm showing a empty horizon here, but as we're zooming in, it's empty horizon. As we're zooming in, what I'm doing is I'm increasing the angular size of the horizon, and all of a sudden you can see there's a boat there because I'm increasing its angular size. And then when I zoom out, the boat will disappear from the bottom up because we got little waves here that are hiding the bottom of the boat, hiding the top of the deck, and then the whole boat disappears, right? That's an optical horizon. A flat Earth has an optical horizon. A ball Earth is required to have a physical horizon. So what would that physical horizon be? I'm a 6-foot-tall man on a globe Earth, 24,901 miles around, like they tell us. There should be, if I'm looking over flat water, there should be a physical horizon no more than 3 miles away.
Right.
So the no more than is the important part. No more than 3 miles away. But today is a foggy day. If I went to the water, I wouldn't be able to see the horizon at a half a mile because it's foggy. So it can be less, but it can't be more. Let's say it's the clearest day ever. We remove all of the air, so there's not even the air blocking my vision. I'm still going to see a physical horizon at 3 miles on a ball. Yeah, on a ball, the horizon should drop behind that physical horizon, right? So here's the ball, and it should drop. That's a physical horizon.
At 3 miles, regardless of where you are.
Regardless of the conditions. So, if I was taller, I could see farther because on a ball, allegedly, because I have a higher angle of attack. I have a higher view. So we can see too far. We can see things that are extremely too far.
So that's basically, just to put this in layman's terms, when I stand up the wood then, because I can probably see, must be a good 40 odd miles away from where this particular water tower is that I look at, because I'm quite high up. So in theory, after 3 miles, I should be seeing a curve.
Well,
to the land.
so if the land is perfectly smooth, and you're never going to have perfectly smooth land, that's why I say calm water. Okay. Calm water is the smoothest that you're going to get. But if there, you know, one of the examples I use is, let's say you're out in a big field and there's a fence 5 feet tall and you're sitting on the ground 2 feet from the fence. Well, the fence is up high. You look up at the top of that fence, it's over your head, right? Because you're sitting down on the ground. Now, if you moved 100 yards away from that fence and you looked at the top of the fence, it's now at your eye level. That fence is at your eye level, but you know it's over your head. Okay. And if I was standing on the other side of that fence and you could see me from my chest up, and you were sitting right next to the fence and I walked away. So here's the fence, here's my head, and I walked away, you're going to see my head set just like that.
Yeah.
But if you were 50 yards away, you're going to see the same thing, but it's all going to happen at your eye level. Okay. It's all going to happen at your eye level. So let me show you. I have a little video that might help. If I can find this stuff faster, it'd really be nice.
We weren't prepared for what I was going to be asking you.
No, I'm never prepared, but that's okay.
We're going to go all over the place. I prefer.
Yeah. So right here, what I'm showing is street lights and how they get smaller and lower. Yeah. And so now I want everybody to imagine you're outside. It's a beautiful day, blue skies with white clouds separated, and they're all sitting what looks to be on a flat deck. You know how they all sit on the same level?
Yeah.
So if you're looking up at the clouds, you have to look up at this one, but the one that's 25 miles away is literally touching the water.
Yeah.
All right. But they're all at the same height. Okay. So if I drew a line from my eye to this cloud, it goes straight up. But if I drew a line, I got a cloud over here on the horizon. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there.
Yeah.
And if I drew a line from my eye to that cloud, I would see that line pretty much parallel with the water. I would see that line going straight across, right? So in my reality, that line goes from my eye to that cloud, straight and level to the water, where I could probably walk along and touch the line the whole way, you would think, because that's how I see it. But if you were standing underneath that cloud and you could see that line that goes from the cloud to my eye, you would see a line going from the sky, sloping down to my eye. This is what you would see, but I see this as parallel with the earth. Okay. So I see this line as my parallel line with the ground. You see it sloping out of the sky. So now as the sun moves across the flat earth, this is my horizon. This cloud, this atmospheric deck creates my horizon. And when the sun goes beyond that line, it disappears. But that's not how I see it, right? Remember, I see that line going from my eye straight across the land, just like that. So when I see the sun move away, you know, as we showed before, when things move away, they move down.
Yes.
And when it crosses my cloud horizon, I think that's an earth horizon, because I've been trained my entire life to think that we live on a ball.
And this is the bit that, like I say, for the last 8 months, with looking at everything, all I've done is I've done my best to screw up everything I've ever learned about it and throw it away, and just use my own visual capacity and a bit of common sense around things.
Right.
And I'll tell you one thing that really has helped is the Flat Earth app. So you can, and all the experiments you do on there to show things as well.
The app, you said?
Yeah, the app, the Flat Earth app.
I have to agree. It is the best. We'll get into that in a second.
Go on.
I'm just curious. Do you start all your shows? Hi, I'm Wendy. I'm a flat earther.
No.
Well, then you're not there yet.
No,
You'll get there.
I've got to the point though, if it comes up in conversation, like I said to you, if anyone says to me, oh no, we're on a globe, I go, you really need to go to the nearest asylum and get some treatment. And then I'll talk them through the spinning process.
Nice. That's a good start. I like the technique. Everybody has their own, whatever works for you.
That's where I go. I've just got to that point now, Dave, where I'm like, no, seriously, you really need to go and have a little chat with yourself about this one, because it makes no sense. Make some sense to me. If you can make sense to me about a spinning ball while I'm sat here with my cup of tea drinking and I'm stationary, then I'm all ears. Away you go. But it just makes no sense now.
I see that calm water behind you. That's amazing on a spinning, wobbling ball.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's do a little more advanced lesson here. And I don't think I did this one. Do you remember this?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
So one of the arguments, here's the thing. Most globers will just come at you and go, what about sticks and shadows from Aristophanes? We've known for 2,000 years, sunsets, boats over the horizon, seasons, right? They throw those at you. But some that are actually trying to think, they'll go, well, on your flat earth, we should be able to see the sun go all the way around. Okay, I explained to you how things disappear. I just showed you that. But on your flat earth, the sun should get smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Right? If the sun's close to you and it moves away, it should get smaller and smaller. Good argument. Let's see why that doesn't happen, but it actually does happen. But sometimes it doesn't happen. So the first thing I want to say is looking into the sky, the optics of the sky are no way to prove the shape of the earth, all right? Look at the lights in your ceiling and describe your floor is ridiculous, okay? So as things move into the distance, they get smaller. So I'm standing here and the train gets smaller and smaller. Now people say, why doesn't the sun do that? It actually sometimes does that, but as we've all seen many sunsets, it doesn't. Sometimes it even gets bigger. In our mind, it gets bigger. Yeah. So here's a hallway with parallel lines. Look at these lines up here. These are parallel to the floor, but they look like they're going down. This is all perspective, right? So here's I'm looking away. Here's an orthographic view of the sun going away. So if I was looking from the side, this is what I would see. And the sun would appear to go down, right? Same view. This is the sun just going away. Now, why isn't the sun getting smaller? And I forget the name of this term, but when something's far away, look, like this train car is already small because it's up in the air. So as it moves away, it kind of stays the same size. Yeah. Right. So here's the experiment we did. Here's a wiffle ball, and 6 feet away is another wiffle ball, but this one's much smaller because it's farther away. The camera here, the eye level is at the same level. But when I move the camera up and away so that the closer sun is still far away. So watch what happens. I'm going to raise it up. And as I go up, I'm not getting any closer to this ball. They almost become the same size. And if I roll this ball along the track, it would stay the same size. And that's your setting sun. They're pretty much the same size. And that's what we experience. Sometimes the sun gets a little smaller. Sometimes it gets a lot smaller. Sometimes it gets bigger. That's all in your head. Okay. So let me, what am I going to show you next to show that?
I mean, there's so many optical illusions, aren't there, that can show you how the brain works and how it perceives information as well.
Absolutely. So here is a sunset. Let me show you this one while I look for the other one I'm going for. This is in Bulgaria, super clear day, slightly elevated position, and the sun is just going away, all right? It's just going away. And as it goes away, the sun is a local light. Light doesn't travel for billions and trillions of miles and years and go forever. The light expands, which means it gets weaker and weaker exponentially, right? Because if I had a light and I made the realm of that light, a lot bigger, that light spreads out. And so look, it goes away. It takes its light with us. There's the land, there's something above your eye level there, and it takes its light with you. Here's one I probably showed you, but I'll show you again. This is one of my favorites. The sun is just clearly going away. This was filmed in Afghanistan and on a super dry, clear day. And the sun is just going away, right? Yeah. And it takes its light with it. And I got Paul McCartney singing, "The fool on the hill sees the sun going down, but the eyes in his head see the world spinning round."
Yeah, that is really, and again, this is part of, for obviously the listeners can't see what we're looking at, so the video is really going to be beneficial for you guys to watch. When you, and again, this is just a teaching of the brain. When you tell your brain that something is doing something different, it sees it in a different way. So now that you've said it's going away, you're using specific words. My brain is now looking at that not as something that's dropping down from the sky, but something that's going away from me. And you can actually view it differently. You can see that it is moving away from you. It's not going down. It's really interesting how the brain,
and as it moves away, it's getting through more and more atmosphere. Well, atmosphere becomes it magnifies. And so as the sun is shrinking, it's also getting magnified. Interesting, right? Here's a little experiment that we did. This is done by Rob Skiba. We got a Fresnel lens right here, and we're dragging this sun away across a straight table. And what the camera sees is the sun set below the table. The atmosphere makes it, as it's going away, it's getting smaller and smaller. I mean, getting bigger and bigger, but it's also getting smaller and smaller. And this is how we see. So I got a candle here, and I'm dragging it away across the straight table. It's going below the table that it's on. Okay. So here's the setup: camera, Fresnel lens, candle, dragging it away. And this is what we see. And it sets. These are optical things.
it is a total optical illusion. It's absolutely mental when you see it like that.
Here's one that you can think of. Next time you have a full moon,
Yeah.
and you see that moon on the horizon, you go, wow, it's gigantic. You take a picture of it, you go, it's not so
tiny.
big. It's tiny, right? Isn't that weird? Right. So how about, it's all in your head. It's the way, this is going to blow people away. So when you see the moon, and this is going to sound really crazy, but you know, I'm a flat earther, so I can say anything. I have no restrictions. So when the moon is gigantic on the horizon, turn around, spread your legs, bend over, and look at the moon upside down through your legs. I know you're laughing, okay? And it will be tiny.
Okay, go on. Explain that one. I'm going to do this.
I cannot explain it.
You
I
cannot
can't.
explain
Your
it.
brain short circuits, and it doesn't. Your brain needs to think about our brains. Our eyeballs are interpreting.
That's a new word.
Yeah, I can make up new words. I'm a flat earther. Okay. Interprets everything: distance, color, shape, density, just everything. And things are moving, and you're processing all this information. Imagine if your brain couldn't process everything, and you didn't have any belief systems. Like, you'd be walking towards a tree. You don't know if that tree is going to kill you, right? You don't have a belief system. You don't know anything. But I know a tree isn't moving, right? I know a tree doesn't want to kill me. The humans want to kill trees. That's another story. So you have these belief systems, and the way it has to do with our belief system. It has to do with the way we see the sky and the earth, and our brains see things bigger when they're closer to the horizon. It's really weird. Turn around, bend over, look through your legs, and the moon will be like you took a picture of it. It'll be tiny.
Yeah, because that's all. That one particularly random subject. When I'm driving out of London sometimes at night, I've seen some of the biggest moons ever. They literally look like they're filling up the whole of the sky between the buildings. And I'm always thinking, I can't wait to get just to the country so I can take a big picture of that. And then, like you say, you take a picture and it's like, oh, well, that's going to be proper shit when I put that up. Because
and if you like hold your thumb out in front of the moon, say, okay, my thumb is covering the whole moon and it's gigantic. Then when the moon is up high, same distance to your eye, your thumb will cover it the same way.
Right, I've never tried that either. So
well, that's kind of just like a measuring technique. And yeah, the optics are no way to prove anything. Here, I'll show. I don't know if I showed you this. I'll show you where is it? Where's my table? So this, I'm going to show you something, and once you see it, it's still going to look the same. Okay, what am I talking about?
I've got no idea. This is one of them. This is why I love the last show that we did, because I went away, my head hurt so much.
Yeah.
And then it's just been a process of digesting and learning the information.
Well, first, what I'm doing, I'll show you this. So these two arrows are pointing to the same direction. I put a curved empty glass in front of them. They're just a little distorted.
Yeah.
But they're pointing the same direction. Now, if the sky is a dome and we believe that space is water, how do you know what the hell you're seeing when you're looking through that? Okay. So I filled it halfway with water, and one arrow changes directions. Right.
Well, I've got to explain this to the listeners. Seriously, there is a piece of card with two arrows facing left. Dave has just put an empty glass in front of it, so the arrows shorten slightly when he puts the glass in front of it, and then he's half filled the glass with water, and the bottom arrow has switched and turned itself right. How on earth does that work?
Right. And now
the top arrow's turned right
because it filled it with water. So here's another one. I'm showing you some circles on a thing, and which orange circle's bigger? One of them is bigger than the other.
I want to say they're not at the same size now, because the ones on the left, the orange circle on my left as I'm looking at it.
This one?
That one I'm going to say is bigger, but it's not, is it? You're going to tell me it's the same size as the one on the right.
It's the same size, right? But that your brain is trying to interpret things differently. So here's the one I wanted to show you. Are these tables the same width and dimension?
No, one's square and one's rectangular.
Okay. If I hold on. They're both exactly the same. Let me just restart it. Here you go. So both of them are the same. Now, I showed you the trick. Can you sort it out in your brain?
No.
You can't, right?
No.
It's the same shape. And usually when you see a trick, you go, oh, now I see it. You can't sort this one out.
No, this one, you guys are really going to have to watch this on the video, because it is painful for the head. It is one of those total optical illusions that the brain cannot, for whatever reason, make sense of, even when it sees it. This is cognitive dissonance at its best, isn't it?
If you can't touch it and measure it, you don't know how big it is, how far it is, what shape it is, right? You don't know.
No. And that is the whole unknown of certain aspects. Why
people say, the moon's round, right? The moon's round. Do you think the moon is a sphere?
Well, I don't know now, because I've never seen the other side of it, so I can't make a judgment on that. It could just be flat.
I'm showing you 4 moons. Is this one a sphere?
That looks like a sphere.
It does look like a sphere, and it's not fair because it's a half a sphere. So from what you can see, it's a sphere. How about this one? Is this one a sphere?
Yeah, that one looks like it's got some shiny sphere-like.
Yeah, quality. Guess what? Welcome to Flat Earth. That one's flat. Okay. How about this? Is this a sphere?
No, that one looks flat.
No, it's a cup. So you're so wrong. You can't get any of them right. All right. If you can't touch it and measure it, you don't know how far it is. You don't know how big it is. You don't know what shape it is. Now, it's circular. Personally, I think the moon is a sphere.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. I don't think the moon that we see is a physical object. Whole nother story.
Well, that was something. This was one of the questions, actually, was about the moon and the sun, because I did see a video of yours where you had I'm going to say a piece of canvas, and you were shining a light through the canvas into, like a dome to represent the firmament, and it showed that the moon could possibly be a projection in from somewhere else.
Yeah, that's my sky sheet. So this one right here.
Yeah.
So I know it's amazing. This is a flashlight 10 feet away on the other side. It kind of looks just like the sun, right? Yeah. So I've got my girlfriend with me, and I said to her, where do you see the sun? And she points somewhere completely different. All right. She sees the sun there. I moved the camera in front of her. Yeah. But I see the sun over here. we're seeing the sun in two different places. The same sun in two different places.
Right, now that's just really hurt my head. So I'm going to just, at that point, just go into a song for a moment,
Okay.
gather my thoughts, and then come back with some questions.
Okay.
So we're going to have a little bit of Wish You Were Here with Pink Floyd, please, Django, this morning. I can't even speak now, Dave.
And you're off air.
Yeah, I've got some, this is like level up head painful learning for me now. I've got the hang of, I was driving down to Cornwall with my friend, and she's never really considered anything either. And we were on, again, in this particular point where you can see that literally the whole of the Cornish coastline. And I was just driving along going, say it's flat. Look left. Can you see it? No, it's flat. Look, that's flat, flat. And she's like, all right then, Wendy, yeah, it's flat. So everywhere I go now, I know it's flat, but now it's just unpacked a few more questions. The firmament, a lot of people ask me about the firmament as well, which I find absolutely fascinating, especially after hearing some of Santos Bonacci's work on the different, there's did he say 7 different layers? Or
7
10?
layers. Do you want to know what the firmament is?
Please tell me it's like a snow globe.
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
No.
And neither do you, and neither does Santos. But we have our ancient cosmology. We have all these ancient cultures, which were way smarter than we are. Have you gone down the Tataria hole yet?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the app, the Tataria button, make sure you're watching John Levy videos, 1 a week, 20 minutes video. John Levy, it's probably the top video on the Tataria list in the app right now.
Right.
And make sure you watch his recent one, maybe 2 or 3 videos ago, on the Philadelphia World Fairs. Okay.
Yeah.
Once you see that, you thought flat Earth was painful. Okay. You thought waking up to that lie. Now, okay, we're on a flat Earth. Well, guess what? All of our history is a lie. All of it. The last 100, and all of this happened in the last 100 years, right? You know how they say we're going into the Great Reset right now? We're just coming out of a Great Reset, right? All of the world wars, all of the stuff that's going on was to hide what happened before. Now we're getting to the point where everyone's starting to see again, and they're trying to reset the entire world again. They're going for it, okay? But they can't do it without our permission, right? The way this world works is they have to get our permission. They can't break our free will. And if we're too stupid to say no, we're saying yes. That's how the law works, right? So they always tell us what they're doing. Klaus Schwab wrote his book. We're going into the Great Reset. He mapped it out for all of us. And everyone's, oh, cool. Let me,
that's chains on me and the shackles and
it's just 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Well, that's a little poke at something. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So here we are.
Oh God, yes. Oh, there you go. Another, do you know what I mean? Epiphanies. It's just all there. Flatten the curve in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Another. It is the Tataria stuff though. I didn't realize it was only the last 100 years. I know because I've looked into the World War, the German one mainly, World War I and II, World War II. So I've done a lot of research into that. The mud floods, I've not looked into those, but obviously not obviously because you don't know this. I have a friend who he's obsessed with the Tatarian architecture and the free energy sources. And so he's always sending me pictures of the buildings, and he'll send me pictures in London and go, why would there be a front door under the ground, Wendy? Do you know what I mean? Why would there be these buildings with front doors like 15 foot under the ground? Just
worse than that, there's entire buildings underneath buildings. I mean, there's incredible stuff. In New York City, there's roads that are on top of buildings. People don't even know they're driving on the top of old buildings.
Right, wow. No, I didn't.
Because they're underground. It's incredible.
Yeah, I will do that.
What's going on?
The John Levy, I'll go and have a look at that.
Yeah, and there's all places in the world where you see like stuff underground. Like you'll see an old building, and then underneath it, you'll see like bricks, like a brick arch or something like this, right? Yeah. And you're like, what the hell happened? Now, yeah, occasionally there's a mudslide and stuff, and that'll bury a town and stuff. This is way bigger than that. And it's so 8 months ago, you got hit in the head, and now you think the earth is flat. Now I just kicked you in somewhere painful, and you're looking into Tartaria. And then once you're all in grips with that, then I'll turn you on to meltology. Okay, what the hell's meltology? Where many of the mountains and plateaus that we see were actually buildings that have melted. Yes.
Meltology.
Meltology. Now listen. Again, just like learning about flat Earth, some people that are meltologists, I can make up words because I'm a flat earther. They say that all mountains are melted buildings. That's not true. All of anything isn't anything, right? Some mountains are just mountains. Some mountains are trees. Some mountains are titans. Some mountains are buildings, and who knows what else is out there. But once you start seeing this stuff, you'll go out in nature and you'll see it yourself. And basically, you need like a chin strap to hold your jaw shut, because you'll just be walking around like, oh my God. Like when I go for a walk in the woods, it's no longer a walk. It's like everything I see, I'm like, wow, that's not just ledge rock. That's a friggin' oak tree. Okay. That's a branch of a tree. This giant rock, line of rocks. It's a tree.
Yeah, because some of the mountains I've seen pictures of, they look like, massive tree stumps. Like someone has hacked down a giant 2-mile high Canadian redwood or something, and you've just been left with a tree stump. I see those quite a lot, but I didn't know about the buildings. So
think about this. Some of the architecture they have from the old. Back then, we had horses and buggies and hemp ropes and pulleys. Okay. Okay.
10 seconds.
No power tools. Oh, wait, are we not back yet?
No, we're just chatting in the break.
You have to be recording this, no?
We are.
Yeah, we record all the way through. Yeah. So this will all stay in, Dave. That's why I like recording the break.
And you're live.
And welcome back to Kind of Sound today on the Reality Bite show. And it is a bit of a reality bite for me today. You guys, you're going to have to tune into the videos, as you know, because we talk about a lot of stuff in the breaks that you don't hear while the music's playing. So I've just had a bit of a lesson on Tartaria and metallurgy. Meltology.
About how many of the plateaus in this world are melted brick buildings.
Yeah, so that's going to be, we're just going to leave you with that one, guys, because we're doing flat earth, just to open your head up and give you a bit more cognitive dissonance today.
This crazy flat earthers think buildings, mountains are buildings, titans existed. Well, yes, the evidence is there.
Yes, we had giant trees. It's all, I love all these subjects. So just back to...
and by the way, none of that works on a spinning ball. It only works on a flat plane. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly. We just like to clarify that all the way through. I have actually got a couple of questions, Dave, from some of my friends. When I said I'd got you back on again.
Wait a minute. You still have friends?
I've got a few. They're just as mental as me, so it's a good job.
All right,
my
nice.
whole family is the same as well, which is
Go ahead.
So I don't know. I want you to explain this one because I know the answer to this, and I have explained it to them. But I said I'll get you to explain this. Gravity. So what's the score with gravity? It basically, in my head, it doesn't exist. But I'd really love for you to explain to the listeners about gravity.
Well, you can't just say gravity doesn't exist because things go down. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the high priest of scientism, the failed actor, he says, I don't know what gravity is. Well, gravity is just a theory, and 96% of it is made up. They say dark matter and dark energy make up 96% of the universe. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. Well, guess what? It doesn't work because dark matter and dark energy is a made up fiction, right? And why do in what you were taught in school, why does the Earth orbit the sun? What's making the Earth orbit the sun? According to gravity, the sun's mass, the mass is so big that it's holding onto the Earth,
and it pulls you.
And the Earth is just falling around the sun, and it's just kind of magically holding on to it, and it works perfectly. Nothing ever changes, and we can predict where the moon's going to, or the sun, whether all the celestial bodies will be forever, because they don't really ever interact with each other, right? But in reality, there's, how would this work? Think about this. You've got nothing exploded and created everything. Cool story. That's the story of the universe, okay? And then all of the rocks kind of started forming together and got bigger and bigger, and they turned into these rocky masses. And then all of the gases, for some reason, started sticking together and created even bigger balls that had more gravity. So now we have burning balls of gas in a vacuum. That's a problem, okay? And those gas balls are holding on to rocky balls. Cool story, okay? So now we have the sun, and then we have, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, going farther and farther out, and the sun is holding on to all of them, right? And they're all falling around, going in their orbits around the sun, right? The sun's gravity is just like, come to me, right? But somehow, all of these planets, including Earth, they have moons that are falling around them. So the Earth's gravity is holding onto the moon, right? So when the Earth comes around, when the moon comes around the Earth and back towards the sun, how come it doesn't speed up? Because the sun's gravity is also pulling it. And when it goes away, how come it doesn't slow down? How come when we have all these planetary alignments, they don't tug on each other, right? Everything's free floating through an infinite space vacuum. How come nothing tugs on each other, right? And there's a thing called the three-body problem, where scientists, they have a supercomputer, best computers in the world, and they say, okay, we got a sun and we got a planet, and put it in orbit, and it can predict what it's going to do forever, perfectly, accurately. It knows where it's going to be in 10,000 years from now. But then they add another body, either a moon or another planet, into the system. 3 bodies now, just 3.
Yeah.
They can only predict what it's going to do for a very short period of time, and then it goes into chaos mode, and no computer can figure out what it's going to do next. Okay. Now add our solar system alone probably has like 80 bodies in it, even more. Okay. How does any of this work? It's all scientific mumbo jumbo. So what is gravity, right? And the answer is, now again, the main thing is buoyancy and density, right? Something, I have a steel ball and a feather. Well, the steel ball is more dense. It's going to fall faster because it's more dense. But the question is, why is down? Why doesn't it go sideways? Why does it go up? Like if I had a steel ball and I open my hand, it's going to fall to the ground.
Yes.
Right. But what if I had a steel ball, I snapped my fingers, and the entire Earth disappeared? I let it go. Why is it going to go down? Which way is down? There's nothing else but the steel ball.
I don't know now.
Okay, because there has to be a downward force. What is that downward force? Okay.
Magnetism from the
well, magnetism, so electricity and magnetism are the only true forces in this world. So the Earth itself has a negative charge to it. When you're standing on the Earth, you're connected, you're getting these negative ions, you're connected to the Earth. And that negative, that the Earth doesn't move, it has a negative charge. The sky, the dome, the air has a positive charge to it. Okay. Yeah. So when you lift something up off the Earth, lift it up, it's now is surrounded by that positive charge. And the negative charge of the Earth that doesn't move says, come this way. It's a weak force. Just like they say gravity is a weak force, it says down is this way. Then buoyancy and density sort everything else out. Handful of marbles, ping pong balls, and a helium balloon. I open my hand. The balloon's going to go up because it's less dense than the air. The marbles and the ping pong balls are going to fall down. If I did it over a pool, the ping pong balls will sit on top of the water, and the marbles will go to the bottom. Buoyancy and density.
Buoyancy and density. That makes a lot more sense.
Negative charge. So how can we kind of test this? Well, here is, maybe you've seen one of these little tinfoil triangles. We crank a negative charge into it. As soon as that negative charge is stronger than the Earth, it lifts up. It repels itself from the Earth. Okay. It's not defying gravity. It's just defying the negative charge of the Earth. So when you look into Tartaria, excuse me.
Yeah.
When you look into Tartaria, you'll see all these buildings that have these high spires and domes, towers and domes. And like, why are they spending all this money and time and effort to build these spires? Because as you lift up off the earth, there's electric potential. Every meter, there's another 100 or 1,000 volts. Yeah, maybe it's 1,000 volts every meter. So as you go up, the electricity, there's just free electricity in the air. These things were harvesting electricity, and there was a free wireless electric system around the earth. Again, when you look into the World's Fairs in the 1800s, even in the early 1900s, they were lit up better than we can light things up today. I mean, just watch the John Levy video, please. Everybody listening, John Levy, Levi, Philadelphia World Fairs. Just check that video out, and then watch every single video he's made. So that's what gravity is. And we've done experiments to test. One of the experiments we did is maybe this is it here. I don't know if I have the balloon one. We have this thing called a Van der Graaf generator, and it generates a negative charge. So this thing generates a negative charge. This is a different experiment we did here. We have a plate which is positive, the sky, and a negative earth, and we put different particles in there. This is sawdust, and as we cranked up the negative charge, it started going up. We did it with like pieces of paper, hair, metal filings, and it literally went up. But another experiment we did is we got just a little button, and we hooked it up to the wire, and then we had a mylar helium balloon holding it, and it kind of found its equilibrium a couple inches off the floor. Okay, so it's just floating off the floor. And so here's the button, and the wire goes into the button, and we cranked up the negative charge, and when we cranked up the negative charge, it got heavier. When we changed the charge, was it negative charge or positive, whatever it was, we changed the charge and it made it heavier and lighter, when we changed the charge. And so that's not adding density to it. It's just changing the charge.
That leads me to, I'm going off on a totally different tangent in my head now. I'm now thinking about how you can generate motion with motor vehicles using positive or negative charge.
Absolutely. They have over Unity machines with magnets. Once you start them spinning, they never stop spinning. And another rabbit hole for you to look at is large jet engines. Large jet engines, I believe, when they get up to cruising altitude and speed, they don't use fuel anymore. They just use air and magnet and electricity. Yeah,
someone said to me again, Tyler, who loves all the Tartaria stuff. He said to me, "Look at compressed air engines, giant compressed."
It's not even compressed air. Compressed air. They have compressed air cars where you have to fill up a tank with compressed air, and that's running the engine. That makes sense. I mean, that's easy. But these engines, as the air goes into them, it creates a frequency that creates electricity and then blows out the back. Right. When I was a kid, I remember on the news, I literally remember this. Watching news. It was like dinner time, and or maybe it was late night news, and they talked about how the military has a thing called a ramjet. I think it was called the ramjet, where when it gets up to speed, the air going in, it goes in so fast that they can combust it and push it out the back, and they don't need fuel. I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. Disappeared out of the news. Can't even find the articles anymore on it. Okay.
Well, that's part of the lovely Great Reset.
Yeah, it's all about control. Why would they lie? Why would they lie about this? Because this is how they control us. If they can convince you that you're on a spinning ball, flying through space, corkscrewing in all these different directions at once, they can convince you that a little boogeyman is going to fly through the air and go through your mouth and kill you.
Well, it's also my take on that one is, how do you create fear and a lack of resources? So people do as they're told. You tell someone you're on a spinning ball and it has a lack of resources on it, and you all need to do as you're told, otherwise we're all dead. So
right. So we're running out of food. Well, every family in America can get a half an acre in Texas. They can take a seed that their grandfather put in a jar 50 years ago. They could stick it into the ground. Water, the most precious resource on earth, will fall from the sky, and food will grow out of the ground. Is there a food shortage? No, there's an intelligence shortage, that's for sure. Right? They tell us we're running out of fuel. Well, we just talked about free energy. There's free energy everywhere. And that fuel, by the way, is decomposed dinosaurs. Another joke. You know that dinosaurs aren't real, right?
I do, and I hate that just because
You love dinosaurs.
I do love
When you're a kid, what do you learn about? Dinosaurs and space.
Yeah.
Right? This is all indoctrination. One of the first worksheets you bring home from school is the orbits of the sun and the moon and the planets, right? Yeah. Remember that as a kid? They still do it today. And the globe in the front of the school, in the front of the class, globes everywhere. It's all about, it's all about keeping you in that lie, because here's the beautiful thing about flat earthers. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So we're corkscrewing, spinning through space, spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting at 66,000 miles an hour, traveling, chasing the sun at 100, at 500,000 miles per hour. But when we go outside, we see perfectly glass lakes. Okay. You can't even fathom the speed that we're going, right? I encourage the listeners to look up the hypersonic sled track, right? This is a rocket sled that goes by at Mach 8.6. Can't even see it. And if you can hear it, it's shocking. Well, we're orbiting the sun 10 times faster than that. We're chasing the sun at 100 times faster than that. And again, we have lakes that are perfect glass. Okay.
Yeah, you don't feel it. I've not ever got vertigo or felt like I'm spinning when I still and close my eyes.
In complete insanity.
This is actually, there's one question that I did find this fascinating, and this was something a friend of mine sent me this morning, and he said it was about the wind. He said in his head, on a globe, wouldn't the wind, if it's spinning, they say we're spinning in this atmospheric or whatever, wouldn't it end up getting faster and faster and faster until you've just got this massive tornado going around the planet?
Well, when on the spinning ball, they say that the air is velcroed to the earth. It's just being held. But a summer breeze can blow the wind left, right, up, down. That makes no sense. If you think about it, if the surface of the earth at the equator is spinning 1,000 miles an hour, well, air, 20 miles up should have to spin faster because it's got to make a bigger circle.
Yeah.
Right. So, so the air up top should lag behind. It should kind of lag behind, but it doesn't. It outruns the spin of the earth. It outruns the spin of the earth in many cases. On my app, if you hit the little banner, the map button, and you go, these are the winds. And here we go. At about 40,000 feet, excuse me, these pink and white areas are traveling faster than the spin of the earth. They're outrunning the spin of the earth.
Yeah.
Right. These are like 200 to 300 mile an hour winds. And sometimes a year, they're really well organized into beautiful counter rotating circles. And airplanes use these for flights and stuff. So again, once you start looking at all of this, you can't unsee it. Have you used the friend finder on the app?
No, not yet. No. Oh no, I lie. I have. Yes, I did. I used it last year. Yes.
Did you contact anybody?
I've one person who's quite local to me, actually.
And have you met that person?
No, I haven't in person yet, but
what are you waiting for?
Yeah, I'm going to go and connect with, because I've got quite a few people that I talk to about this.
Yeah, so here's what we're doing. We're having a meetup actually here in New York, in Long Island. I think it's Bayshore. Don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna send out I'll make a video on that soon. But here is where I am, and I have it set to 50 kilometers. And within 50 kilometers, I have 291 people, and I could send them a group message telling them about this meetup, right? And we're all going to get together. And let me tell you something. Wait until you haven't done this yet. You've only been a flat earther for 8 months. You've been a flat earther your whole life. You just didn't know it. And when you get together with flat earthers, it's the most fascinating conversation. Every single person's your best friend. Okay. And you have so much to talk about, and they literally become a whole new family for you. So, you can tap on a dot and message somebody. We've added, if you're not updated, we added profiles, the bottom button right here. You can add a profile. So you can click on somebody's dot, and if they filled out a profile, it'll show, like here, this one, the profile icon is not grayed out. So if I hit it, it happens to be one of my phones as a tester, but you get information. You can find out if they're single or not, right? People are using it as a dating app.
Use it as a dating app. Yeah.
I was just on a show yesterday where the host said he met his girlfriend on the app. People are already getting married on this. People are getting jobs on this because guess what? People that are flat earthers only like to hire or work for other flat earthers. Okay. Because could you actually respect your boss if he thinks we live on a spinning ball? I'm sorry, you can't. Okay. You lose a little bit of respect. Right. And all you're going to think about is like, how can I wake him up to the reality of this world? You're much better off working together. So right now people are using this to find other flat earthers. Where are you located?
I'm in Essex,
United Kingdom.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
there's tons of people near you. There's tons.
I'll have to get back on it, Dave. I've not gone on to that part of it. I like to just look at it and go, oh, where's the sun today? I like to track things and then go in and choose a couple of videos to watch. And
all of the orange dots on and so for people that like check it all the time, like, oh my God, there's a new orange dot near me. An orange dot means somebody joined within 60 days. Right. Okay. So you can message them like, hey, we have a group that meets the first Sunday of every month at Joe's Pub. Okay.
Yeah, that's quite nice. I'm gonna jump on there after.
Yeah.
See who's
again, there's just tons of people in the UK. And it's growing and growing.
So many other questions to ask you today.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Take me away.
We've literally got about 4 minutes left. So it was just like, oh no. I know, because there's so much stuff that I know that I think, oh, do I need to ask that? Just basically the heat at the equator and the poles. So, I mean, if you just get the Flat Earth app, you can see why the poles aren't the poles, because they're just a big ice ring around us. That's why it's cold. But the heat at the equator, how can you explain that?
So the heat at the equator on a tilted ball makes no sense. Why is it diagonal if the sun rays are coming in? The reality is this red ring is in between the tropics. The tropics are the space between the two tropics. So this outer yellow line is the Tropic of Capricorn. Inner yellow line is the Tropic of Cancer. The sun migrates every 6 months in and out. It goes around and around and around. Yeah. Right. And so I'm moving forward to February.
It makes so much sense, guys.
So in June, it's our inner north summer because it comes here. Now, you're in the UK, the sun never gets over you. Here, it goes over Florida. It's really hot in Miami because the sun's directly over it. But in Mexico, where I just was, the sun passes over it twice a year. It goes over it in June and then comes back over it again in March. June, July, August, whatever. It passes over it twice a year. So anything in between these two yellow lines, that's known as the tropics. That's where it's always warm because the sun is always close to them and it passes over them twice a year. Anything outside of the Tropic of Capricorn, that's considered the Antarctic, and anything inside the Tropic of Cancer, that's considered the Arctic. Now think about this. They always tell us what they're doing in words. If you are inside, which you are, the Tropic of Cancer, the sun is arcing around you, right? It's arcing around you. Yeah. The Arctic. If you are outside the Tropic of Capricorn, like in Santiago or Antarctica, what's the sun doing? It's not arcing around you. It's antarcing. It's coming towards you and antarcing away. The Antarctic, the Arctic, the Antarctic.
The language is always in plain sight as well.
Right.
It's all there for you guys to see. It really is. So, Dave, how can an hour go so quick with you? Honestly,
let's do a part two, right away. Right away. Let's do. If you have more questions, let's just go part two, and we'll do it soon.
Yeah, I think that'd be absolutely wonderful. All I can say is thank you so much for joining me again this morning. And if people want to get hold of you and stuff, how do they do that? How can they follow you? Go on, I'll let you say.
The best way, the easiest, the simplest to remember is flatearthdave.com. Flatearthdave.com. You can find a book Dave there. If you got a show, know a show that wants to talk flat earth, especially if they're not flat earthers like you. Oh, great. Another flat earther. Okay. I want to talk to people like you used to be. The problem is I've been on so many shows, everyone's waking up. Like almost 90% of my bookings are flat and stationary when they check it off. So,
Yeah.
but I'll talk to anyone that has an audience that is sleeping, because when you wake up to this, this is our hope for freedom. This is, you know, when you wake up to flat Earth, you never can unsee it again. So,
and it's that being able to then question other things in this whole
right.
narrative, which is going to free us from where we've been, which is just amazing.
Right. On flatearthdave.com, you'll have a link to my YouTube channel, DITRH, all short videos there, 5 minutes or less, you know, most of them. And you have Flat Earth Dave interviews. Excuse me.
They're everywhere.
I'm going down. And
and the Flat Earth app
link to the app, yes.
And what I'll do is I'll get our producer to put links onto the video as well for everybody. But so
make sure if you're on Android that you get the one by Blue Water Bay. Some people search for it and it'll go to the controlled opposition one.
Yeah.
Which has the same name. My app is highest rated app in the App Store and Google Play, and everybody loves it. Just read the reviews.
Yeah, Blue Water Bay, Flat Earth app. Right, Dave, thank you so much for joining me again. Thank you to all the listeners. I hope you've enjoyed this. Click onto the video link as well so you can actually see what we were talking about this morning. And have a wonderful day, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.